So we'll see how this goes. If anything goes wrong today, you don't blame me, you blame him. Because you can blame him for anything. The good Lord gave us a couple hours together. So Ginger, give me a timetable here roughly. What time should we cut this thing off? Just give me a rough idea. I don't care. Hour and a half. I don't care if it's 5 o'clock. I got 10,000 slides, guys. And I can keep you awake to 5 o'clock. You don't think I can? Challenge me to see what happens. I have a rule. I come to the back pew. You don't go to sleep back there. You get mad at me, I still love you, but you're not going to go to sleep. We got an hour and a half together roughly to have a little fun, maybe educate each other. Good Lord gave us that time together. Let's use it wisely. Let's take something out of here that might be of value to. I got a couple new little wrinkles here that you might not have seen, that you might want to pay attention to. I am a pumping nut. Along with that with balance, but I'm not a balance technician. I'm not out in the field all the time, but I see it from another angle, and maybe that might help you a little bit. Let's just take a quick look at where we're going to go and have a little fun with this, okay? So if I'm in your way, just say, Chris, move over. If you want to debate something, fine. It don't bother me. Let's talk about it. That's why we're here. They'll learn more from you saying something than from me. Do you mind? So if you got a question, hey, Chris, let's talk about it. Done deal. That's simple. So what I really want to do is do some of this stuff today. Ashtray, I know you've heard about it. Everybody knows I'm an ashtray nut, and I am. I believe in it. Without it, you got total chaos. But from a balancing commissioning standpoint, you guys need to love these guys up a lot because it's your future. If I could come back as a young kid like you, I'd come back. I want to be a balancing commissioning guy because your future, you got it made. Young kids can't see this. They're blind. The opportunities for you guys to do it professionally and do it right are growing by the day. And the demand is going to grow. If you don't believe me, just start looking around a little bit. And you say, well, I heard about ASHRAE 90.1 2010. I've heard about 2013. What is Standard 188? Anybody in the room know? What is it? Why in the world would you be interested? It's the Legionella standard from ASHRAE. Plumbing. Why would you be interested in plumbing? Why? Because the ASHRAE Legionella standard says you have to do what to plumbing systems? You want to guess, Eddie? What do you think it might say? Balance. Wow, it's going to balance these suckers. What else does it say? Has to be a balancing report turned over to the owner or the owner's representative. Are you interested now, Clyde? Dang, I got your attention. Who in the room knew that? No. Oh, man, you are a smart young man. See, you have got some brilliant guys in this organization after all. It's not him. He's crazy. So, Jim, I'm telling you the truth. The VA has gone nuts. Anybody doing a VA job right now? They're going totally insane with this, and we'll cover it real quick. But I want you to keep this in mind as an opportunity for you guys to go back and do a little search on and see where you're going to go. Just some examples. I'm going to do some crazy other comments, some fundamental balance comments, and then I think Hinton started some of this stuff. What are you guys doing with these sensorless pumps when you go commissioning? Y'all, who's playing with the sensorless pumps? Anybody? These are the variable speed drives, you put them to the bumps, and some of the guys claim you don't have to balance them, you just turn me on. It's BS. But they claim that. I want to educate you to what they are. In between that, we're going to have a little fun, jump around a little bit, but just kind of hang on. Let's see where we might go with this. This is 90.1 2010. ASHRAE Energy Standard is also net 2013 now, and 16 has already been published, and 19 is coming out. All right? Now, why would you be interested in it? Because DOE said they liked it. DOE said every state's got to have an energy building code equal to or better than 2010 90.1 or 2013 90.1. And just give you a crazy example. You know, who's in here from Alabama? Anybody? Good. How did you guys get 2013 so quick? Did you know you're there? Did you know you in California are doing the same things? Doesn't that surprise you a little bit? Shocks me. I love you both. But I'm telling you, Alabama is, as of December the 13th, 2017, is on 90.1 2013, and so is California. Now, North Carolina gets there January 1st, 2019. Georgia will be soon behind. Now, why am I talking about some ASHRAE energy code? You know, energy and balance go together. Let's get at a high level. Don't listen to him, he's crazy. I listen to me. You got a good future, in spite of having him around as a handicap. So what does all this tell you? Let's just jump right over quickly to this ASHRAE Legionella thing. Jumping around on you a little bit, just kind of get you to understand some of these codes are driving your business. And you need to be aware. This is an ASHRAE 188 standard on Legionella, passed in 2015 by the Board of Directors, redone and repassed in 2018. Now, it's not code here in the Southeast. It's not code. It is code in New York City. It's code in New York. But it's not code here. Now, but what's happening is, if you're an engineer or designer, you better start paying attention to this, you're going to get sued. Okay? Now, what I want you to understand, Legion, I'm not going to give you a big discussion on Legionella, except it's a huge liability. People are getting concerned about it. There's two things that control Legionella: temperature to kill it, and don't have any stagnant water. Bingo. You already there. I love you. You already got it figured out. Shh. Don't tell anybody. Don't have any stagnant water, whether it's cold or hot. Huh? The VA, Charleston, South Carolina, just put in a heat exchanger to subcool the inlet water to the hospital down below 68. Let me repeat that. All incoming water to the VA hospital in Charleston, South Carolina has to be colder than 68. It's a magical number. What else did they do? They put recirculation pumps on the cold water plumbing side and balanced it to make sure the water's doing what, Jim? Always moving. And what does this thing tell you got to do? This is what VA's following. You got to understand, I'm trying to wake you up to an opportunity. I want you to wake up opportunity. That's why you're here. Wake up. Plumbing, balance. All water systems, this is plumbing water systems, now not HVAC, shall be balanced, and a balancing report for the water system shall be provided to the building owner designer. How far can I go with this? Come on, guys, how are you going to do it? Problem with this thing, as Jim will tell you, is the flow rates are so small, difficult to measure. You're typically looking at half a GPM if you got lucky, 0.5 GPM on a half or 3/4 inch piece of pipe. Talking about all the returns is what you're looking at, okay? It's a difficult balance thing. If you get in that situation, you're going to probably need some pieces, and there are flow limiters out there you can buy for half a GPM. There's some temperature set points set for certain temperatures you can buy, and you may be coming across this. Your problem is going to be, and Jim's going to confirm this, I hope, is the flow rates are so small, how do you measure it? Take a manual balancing valve, you can't even read the thing. What did you do? What do you do? If it's hot water, I know what I do. Put my hands on the daggum thing, see if it's hot.
Measure by time and temperature.
Time and temperature. Good. You guys that break don't believe me. I don't know who Jim's with, but talk to Jim. He's experienced this, and he no. Talk to the young man. He's aware, and these are small flow rates. So if you get into those issues, be happy to talk to you. I just want you to understand the opportunity. And real quick, those are the temperatures required to kill it, and they want flow rates, nothing stagnant. And there's some solutions out there, balance valve-wise. No big deal. I'm not trying to slow you down so much as let you know you got a handout coming or you got the PDFs coming. If you want to get into it, fine. My message is don't miss the opportunity. So what do you got to do? You got to balance. You got to Legionella plan. It's got to be balanced. And you're probably going to need about a 0.5 GPM per circuit to even have a shot at reading it. How low can you read flow? Tenth? Come on, guys, think about it. How low a flow can you read? Maybe 0.5? Maybe. Even I'm not sure you can do that, but it's maybe possible. I know you guys are good, but how good are you? So there you go. There's your plumbing piping, and you talk about all these recirc lines that you got to balance. Now, I'm going to move back to HVAC, but I think this is an opportunity. I think I was right. Jim's ahead of everybody here that y'all need to be aware of. So VA's directive, without boring you too much, inlet water below 68, nothing stagnant, cold water moving, hot water moving. How do you prove it? Enough said. They got a design manual if you want to go to it. I'm not here to talk about plumbing so much as to plant the idea. Let's go back to 90.1. Let's go back to the HVAC side. Let's go back to the chill water, the hot water side, where your bread and butter is about every day. Let's talk about that a little bit. Now, it's interesting, this 90.1, by the way, which is an energy law. It's the energy code. It's the building code. You don't do this, you're breaking the law, and I'm going to sue you. It's that bad. It's coming that way. Make sure. What would this thing maybe say about balancing and commissioning? First of all, pump heads. It says you calculate the pump head for the critical circuit, whatever that might be, counting every little fitting, and you retake that report and you put it in a file. In other words, there is a critical circuit out there. Now, if you geniuses in a room start connecting the dots, there is a critical circuit and a hydronic system to come up with your pump head. So in theory, that's a circuit, whichever one it might be, determining how much pump head I need. Everybody got that idea? You got to have some circuit. It's going to obviously be which one? The very worst one. The highest pressure drop I got determines my head required for my pump. Everybody, you buy that? Good man. I'm watching you. Now, connect the dots. Connect the dots. So you're doing a proportioning balance. And you're doing it per the code. And you turn a report over to the owner. Which circuit in that building should have its manual balance valve wide open? The same circuit that the pump's on. Wake up. So if I'm an engineer, I'm an owner, and you're sending me a balance report, Billy, I'm going to say, Billy, where's my critical circuit? Show me.
Wherever your highest pressure drop.
All right, and if that critical circuit's balance valve is throttled, I'm going to fire you.
Did something wrong.
You did something wrong. Everybody understand that common sense? You okay with this conversation? I know you're mad at me already because he don't even know what I'm talking about. But my point is, it's the same circuit you use to calculate the pump head. Why would you throttle that circuit? Are you stupid? Leave it wide open. That's called proportioning balance. We're going to go to the ASHRAE definition in a few minutes and walk your way through it. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm trying to get you to look at some of these bits and pieces a little bit different. And I'm going to go nuts as usual. Don't worry about it. But my reason I added this word proportioning balance, you're going to see in a few slides that 90.1 says you shall proportioning balance. And that is a circuit that should be wide open. Wide open. Let's go there. So here's my little balance thing. You guys, your future is secured. But you got a code telling everybody you got to balance. You ain't got to beg anymore. You ain't got to talk. It's the law. You got the law on your side. Come on, guys. Anything over 5,000 square feet, that's your house, right? So his house has to be balanced. With a balance report turned over to the owner, how would you like to balance his house and give him the report? That might not be a lot of fun. But the law is on your side. Now, ASHRAE 90.1, question comes up, what kind of a balancing valve should I use? What kind of a balancing device should I use? And they asked that question of ASHRAE, and ASHRAE said, we don't care. It's up to the engineer to decide, but they have to provide something. They have to provide something for you guys to use to commission the system, determine the pump flows, and determine the head. And they said calibrated balancing valves, that would be like a circuit setter or a manual valve. Flow limiters, like a flow limiter where you got a max pressure and flow you can have, and you buy one fixed with some GPM. And you got some people who say, well, those are automatic balancing. You don't need vendors for that. You don't need a balancing guy for that. A lie. Show it to you in a minute. Why? I'll prove it to you in a minute. But that would be a flow limiter. PT balance, those are the cheap people. All they're going to give you is a couple of pressure points, PT plugs, and temperature. Can you balance with it? Maybe, but certainly not as accurate, a little harder to do than you want. You can do it if you know what you're doing. I'm not saying you can't, but I would love to have a little more instrumentation than just that. Pressure independent control valve, PICS valves. Can you balance with these new pressure independent control valves? Got a quick look at them. What are they? Can you balance with them? Ashley says you can. So you may run across them. You may have a job that's all you have on. What are you going to do? Last but not least, you got some guys like Gil Avery, guys like Taylor telling you you can do it with two-way valves and eliminate all balancing fittings. But you know what's wrong with Taylor and Avery's theory? They ain't married to Alice. I am married to Alice. So I'll explain to you in a minute what's wrong with their theory, all right? Trust me, I can prove them wrong. Theoretically, they're right. They don't live in the real world. So we go get the real world and go there. So that's some things I like to talk about. So here's some animals up here to look at. I'll pass a couple of things around. I just want to make a point to you. You've got flow limiters that are automatic. You've got manual valves, and you've got pressure independent control valves shown up there. And I'll just have a couple of these to pass around just to kind of get a point across to you because it's a point worth making. This is an adjustable flow limiter, and what's on the bottom of it? Oh, man alive. You got some of these people, I don't care what vendor you use, but you need that. How is you going to do a balancing report if you don't have a differential pressure to work with? We'll get there in a minute, but you see what I put up there. If you're doing a balance job with a flow limiter, you need to be able to take the differential pressures across the bottom, which is what's on there, and record that because a minimum pressure required to make that animal work. If you don't have the minimum pressure, it don't work. Not automatic. Bingo, it's not automatic. You got it. We're going to go there in a minute, but a lot of people get confused. And I want to have a comment on this particular one. You can take the top, look at the top of it. It's got a GPM dial on it. So you can actually adjust this. One of the biggest problems we see with flow limiters, there's no numbers on them. If you get the wrong valve on the wrong coil, how do you know? Coil didn't work right. Okay, coil didn't work right. What do you do then? Make them change them? But it's still a nightmare to figure out which one goes where, and you follow me? So the difference to this particular animal, you can dial the GPM on it. This is an adjustable flow limiter versus fixed. You can dial in the GPM. As long as you got the differential pressure, you're there. So that solves some problems for you. Get there in a few minutes. No big deal. So balance and commission, what am I getting at? You guys in this room have the world in your hands. The environmental air, IAQ 62, and the 90.1 energy things are in your hands. We can't, I'm a tree hugger, right? I'll get rid of that thing in a minute. But I'm a tree hugger. I believe in the environment. I really do. But the day that you guys hug the trees so tight, and Alice goes home and hits that light switch and there's no power, all blank's going to break loose, trust me. In other words, there has to be a balance. We can't go too far one way or the other. We've got to do both. We've got to do both. Who's going to do both? You are. You are. You're going to make sure the energy we use is used the most efficiently as we can. That is your job. You've got the whole world sitting in your hand and commissioning these jobs and making sure they're balanced. You're the one. So how are you going to do this? I'm going to say a couple of things too. You need to be learning going to seminars. Yeah, good. You got the first step out of the way. Well, you learn anything, I can't help you, Joel, but we're working at it. Next thing is make a simple sketch of your system. How are you going to balance something if you don't know the intent of the system? If you don't know the intent from the designer, you got diversity or not? I mean, we're going to touch on some of those things in just a minute. We're going to back up a little higher level. How do you approach a balancing problem? How do you get there? How do you know what you're doing? Last but not least, understand this. The old days, when this 73 crazy-year-old man was born, 20-degree delta T in a hot water system was typical. I'm seeing 40 now all day long. When I was coming along, if you had 8, 9, 10 degrees on the chill water, you were doing well. Designs there are 16 plus. What does that tell you? The flow rates are doing what? What is that doing to the balance? More critical. Everybody understand that statement? So the need for what you're doing is more critical than ever. Don't ever underestimate how much you're needed on a job. Don't ever underestimate that. You're needed more now than ever. And I want to make sure you kind of got that message. A little quick example. 2-ways and 3-way valves in return water temperatures. Just keep it simple. I've got NC State University, okay? I've got 4 loads. I got a dorm with a peak load of 1,000, cafeteria peak load of 1,000, library peak load of 1,000, gym peak load of 1,000, just to keep it simple, okay? So my total peak loads would be 4,000 tons. Do you think the kids are going to be all 4 places at the same time? You really don't think they will. You think they might move around? So you're telling me, Chris, I could run what we call a block load. Look at all 4 buildings at one time, and my peak load is 3,000 tons because the kids can't be in one place at the time. Everybody kind of got that idea. Edmondson's going to define it as a diversity of 0.75. In other words, I got to be able to put 1,000 tons to the dorm, to each one of these buildings, and whatever flow rate in GPM I need, but overall I only need 3,000 tons. Everybody kind of got the idea? Now, the old days when this old man was born, you probably wasn't even thought about it. You probably just a kid back then. That's how young you are. We would do something like this to kind of understand this. We got a chiller plant. How many 1,000 ton chillers are you going to buy? Pretty basic question, isn't it? Am I going to buy 3 1,000 ton chillers or 4? And no standby allowed. Ooh, I knew where you were going on that one. So how many are you going to buy? Come on, kids, y'all never even thought about this stupid stuff. The answer was back then we had 3-way valves. And we would buy 4. And we would flow everything constant flow on a 10-degree design delta T. That'd be 2.4 GPM per ton. See, we would flow the chiller plant at 9,600 GPM, Michael, around the clock, constantly, whether you needed it or not. We'd have all 4 chillers with flow going through, whether you needed it or not. When I was a kid, electricity was priced in mills. You even know what a mill is? It's less than a penny a kW. Think about that one. Seriously, it was a mill. You're a young kid. You remember mills? You're not that young. Oh, I'm picking at you. But they were priced in mills. Nobody cared. And it was 3-way valve conflict. So if you're going to balance this, what are you going to do? Pretty simple problem, isn't it? Constant flow. What are you going to do? I'm going to go to every building, 10-degree delta T, 2.4. I'm going to let it rip. How you doing? Good seeing you again. You see where I am? Good. That's the easy way. But these bright engineers came along and screwed it up. What did y'all do next? Guess what ASHRAE 90.1 1999 did, the energy code? Are we wasting energy? Yeah. Let's change all the 3-way valves to what? 2-way valves. Now I'm back to 3 chillers versus 4. Now why is this important that you get this? Because you got to balance the sucker. Look at the total flow rate now. 7,200 GPM. Before it was what? 9,600. Look at the flow rate per building. Per building was 24, 24, 24, 24. What is it now? It's still 24, 24, 24, 24. How much do you have? 7,200. How are you going to balance it? What are you going to do? If you don't understand it, you can't balance it. It's called diversity. So what do you got to do? You got to isolate each building enough to put 2,400 to it and work your way through it. And then make sure you get through, you got 7,200 GPM total available. Is that making sense? Okay with you? You hadn't said anything to me like, you don't love me anymore? Talk to me, dadgummit. Let's have a little fun with this. You got to see how we got here. Does everybody grasp this concept? I mean, you got to teach it to the kids. I don't even know how we got here. You got to begin to understand this. If you can't make this simple sketch, how will you balance it? You won't. You got to make that simple sketch. Enough said on all that, but trying to get this point across is the best way I know to do it. It's a little example. So I'm leaving you with this thought. Before you start any project, even old dumb Rodney here, I love you too, but take a piece of paper out, Rodney, and make a sketch of what you're trying to do. Just, not every takeoff, but just a sketch. What are you trying to do? Otherwise, you're not going to get there, okay? I'm going to get in trouble with McCracken Lopez back. I'm going to get in trouble with you. I got a pet peeve. I think every firm should have a sheet with a sketch of a high-level, simple, like I'm showing here, of what your intent is of a job. If you're mad at me, forgive me, but I'm just making a point, okay? How else, how these guys are going to know what you want? Just a simple comment. Enough said. So let's look at a bit about balance in your goals. How tight a balance do you need? How good are you? Plus or minus 5? Plus or minus 2? Plus or minus 1? I'm picking at you, but you're a commissioning guy. All right, Hinton, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. How good are you if you really wanted to be?
I'm only as good as the product you're selling.
Bingo! I like that. Only good as what you give me to work that way. All right? So let's take a look. Another little thing from ASHRAE 90.1. You guys need to be aware of these kind of things. This is a complicated slide. I'll make it simple for you in just a second. But the point would be, what is defined as a balanced system? Everybody got a definition? What is the actual technical definition of a defined as a balanced system? Aren't you in the balance business? You don't know? He didn't tell you this? Come on now, guys. You ain't going to go to sleep, all right? So what is the definition? There's some charts for you out of ASHRAE. And here is ASHRAE's definition. ASHRAE 90.1, the Bible, as I call it for us. There's a definition of a balanced system. So if you want to answer the question is, a balanced system is the flow rate required through a heating or cooling coil to give you 97% of the design BTUs that you guys designed it on, okay? Y'all okay with that? Now what flow tolerance, Eddie, would allow you to do that? How close have you got to get Rodney on the balance to give you 97%? Everybody understand the question? What's your comment? Speak up. Bingo. Where did you go to school? Not a Tigger guy. Are you a Tigger guy? Actually taught you something down there? I'm amazed. Been a Wolfpacker. Come on, got to have a little fun. Perfect comment. So your comment was again, say them again, tell it again. Depends on the delta T. Where are you going to find what that flow balance might be? Where are you going to find what the delta T does to your design plus or minus accuracy? Well, ASHRAE happens to have another little chart that you may or may not be aware of. In that chart, they give you heating. By the way, this is 30-degree delta T on the heating. And they give you cooling, and this one I believe is 12-degree delta T. Hard to read, I understand. But in the ASHRAE guide, there's a table that tells you the flow tolerance based on the delta T. Let me summarize for you something you can understand. So I pull these numbers off the chart. I think it's important you see this chart and understand it. It says for a typical hot water heating system today, not the old 160s, the 180s, that's dead technology. Today we're basically working a 140-degree supply and maybe a 30 to 40-degree delta T. Let's take 30. Today you're dealing with condensing boilers. Condensing boilers have to have a return temperature below 130 to rain in them or they won't rain. So your supply temperatures are coming down. Your return temperatures are coming down, so they will rain in the boilers and they will condense. This means your tolerance for flow is more critical. Your delta T's are up and your supply temperatures are down. Per ASHRAE, 30-degree delta T from that chart, 140 supply, 110 return for heating, you need a flow tolerance of plus or minus 10%, just like my Tigger friend in the back said, perfect. Now your spec needs to be plus or minus 10%. Chill water, same story, same chart. I got it right here. 45-degree supply, 57-degree return. It may even be 14 to 16 degrees. This chart will give you the numbers. But at a 12-degree delta T, flow tolerance is 10%. So guys in the room, help me out. What is a typical balance specification you're working with? Is it plus or minus 10? I wonder where it came from. Now you know. Is plus or minus 10 good enough? Mostly, but you probably, I gave you some guidelines, but as your gentleman from the Tigger friend is telling me in the back, it may not be depending upon the delta T. Great answer. You actually did learn something down there. I'm amazed, I really am. But we'll go from there. So here we go a little bit trying to give you the standards. I'm going to be in more trouble than I can get out of. So we got to go to basics 101. I don't want to insult you, but this is a balancing seminar. This is old B&G systems sort of thing. But I want to make sure I get a couple points across to you. And I want you to look at it a little bit different than you have in the past. Okay? So we're going to go back to the old fundamental thing. Everybody ever seen that before? If you haven't ever seen that before, you ought to get up and leave this room right now. go home. Giving you a hard time, but all balancing technology is kind of based on that good Lord's law. And basically what the good Lord is telling you, if I know the pressure, if I have a fixed orifice, you know, I'm not changing my orifice size, or I'm not changing the CV size. If I know my pressure drop and a GPM, I know the pressure drop and GPM, any other set of numbers. In other words, once I got something fixed like a manual circuit setter to a set spot, I'm not changing it. If I know the pressure drop across it at a GPM, any other pressure drop, I can tell you the GPM pretty good, or square law. You got this little square equation to work with. Now, the B&G system size is scale 5, that's all that is. It's just that square relationship from the good Lord. Now, in case you guys didn't know this, for the young kids in the room, you know, Hinton maybe's got a couple of those around, but it's also now on a cell phone. And it's on this cell. I got it on my, I use it all the time because I'm not too good at formulas anymore. I'm getting old. But I think your kids like this better. It's a freebie. It's not selling you anything. You get online and download it for your daggum cell phone. If you don't, you're crazy if you don't take it, because it's a very simple thing. GPM is on there. Delta T is on there. And the good Lord scale 5 square function for pressure drops and heads on there. So you can just plug it in. What I love about this thing is very simple. It's up to 48 inch, okay? My little manual slipstick is limited to 12. Now, if you want to go to 72 inch, I have a chart. And I'll be happy to send it to you if you got a project with 72 inch pipe. If you get over 72 inch, call somebody else. I can't help you. I might try, but I can't let you go from there. But what I'm trying to get at is, this is important to you guys. Please listen to me. What we have built into this thing now is PVC pipe and type L copper, okay? And people are always looking for a pressure head loss calculation chart for PVC and type L copper. So you can now use it on plumbing. Aha. It's also available for English and metric. I can't even think metric like you young kids, but I can calculate English all day long and hit a button and change it to metric. I can do that in a heartbeat, so that works good. It's also available for other fluids. If you got glycol and ethylene, load the percentage in. Nothing proprietary, nobody's selling you anything, it's just a tool. If you don't get it, you're nuts. It's also available in a Windows version if you want to get it online with your PC. And it's ASHRAE supported, it's got L copper. It's also available in Spanish and English with a couple buttons, okay? So just to give you some tools that are free, no product involved at all, it's just an engineering tool you might want to have handy, because if you're doing the kind of stuff you need, I use it every day. So enough said. Let's go back to this CV thing without boring you too much. Let's just go to this CV thing, back to fundamentals. You got to keep going back every now and then. What is a daggum CV? For the water is the flow rate through a device to give you a 1 pound pressure drop. Everybody okay with that? You probably knew this when you were, but yeah, right? You were in diapers and they taught you that. Okay, fine. It's the pressure drop, 1 pound, and the flow rate of that number. Everybody okay with that? Good. So we got to, everything is fundamental with that, kind of have to understand. So if we have an unknown CV and you got one of these, what was that kind of meter Brian was telling you guys, this ultrasonic meter? That's what he was telling you, but let's assume you don't have one of those. Let's assume you're cheap and all you got's a chiller. Can you take that fundamental law and take the pressure drop across that chiller and tell me the flow rate, assuming the tubes are clean? Yeah, good. Let's just play that game a little bit. So right now I've got a chiller up here with 23 feet of drop, 916 tons, 2200 GPM by design, and I'm going to assume it's clean and open. All right, good. You're sitting somewhere and the owner calls up and says, you screwed up. Don't have enough flow rate. You say, well, sir or ma'am, do you mind checking your gauges? Did you put gauges across the chiller? Now, what do you know? You know at 23 feet of drop or 10 pounds of drop, the flow rate is 2200 GPM. Got it? You know that. You got the good Lord's law to work with now. Good. Let's take a look. You said, sir, do you have those pressure gauges I specified to be on that chiller? The answer may be no, but I'll guarantee you the details should show pressure gauges. Now, Stanley being an old guy working with him, this is terrible for you to have to understand. But I want you to take those pressures with the same gauge. I want you to take that 43 pounds going into that chiller barrel. I want you to take that same gauge and move it over to the outlet side and get my 32 pounds. I don't trust gauges, do you? I would like to take the gauge on the outlet side and do the same thing, Trent. Move it to the inlet side, okay? You with me? What am I after? Pressure drop. Could really care less what the actual pressure is. I want the accuracy of the pressure drop. So what is the pressure drop? 11 pounds. You're on the phone. All you ask the guy to do, Jim, is read the gauges for you. Come on, guys. You got 11 pounds of drop. Clyde, what are we going to do with this information? Design said 2200 GPM was 10 pounds. Yeah, on the submittal data, like you, on the submittal data. You went to the submittal data, you had it on that 10 pounds. But now you got a pressure drop of 11. What's the flow rate in GPM? Can you tell everybody? Got the good Lord square law. So if you go to the good Lord circuit setter or system sizer or you little phone app and plug it in, you know 2200 GPM is 23 feet of drop, 10 pounds. And now we know we got 11 pounds, which is about, what, 25.1 feet of drop. The flow rate will work out to be about 2300 GPM. So what did you just do? You just made a circuit setter out of a chiller barrel. You just used a little basic knowledge to solve a problem without an ultrasonic flow meter. I'm sorry, I like to have one. In case I didn't have one, I got to have something, right? So don't forget fundamental things. Yes, Jim, go ahead.
That's a fixed orifice.
Sir?
That's a fixed orifice. That's different.
Bingo. That's a fixed orifice. Jim's comment is correct. It's a fixed orifice. The chiller barrel is fixed and we know the pressure drop. If I change the setting on the pressure drop, it's gone. Perfect. Good answer. Doesn't bother me at all. He's totally correct. So let's go with the CVs. I set it up on scale 5 and I put 2300 GPM. Well, I said 2200 at 10 pounds. I'm actually in 11 pounds. It's 2300 GPM. Right off the chart, or you put it, and I'd put it on here for you kids that can't read. I can't see too good anymore. Let it go from there. Enough said. Pump impeller trim. And we were talking about pumps. You've been through this a couple of times. But I think it's important you understand a couple of things in the codes. There's all kinds of misunderstandings out there of standards. Now, first of all, let me say this because I need to say it. I came off the ASHRAE Board of Directors, but I can't speak for ASHRAE. Nobody can. I can give you Edmund's opinion of what things stand for, but you got to decide for yourself. Everybody understand that? Okay, I'm so involved in ASHRAE, it's nuts. But I'm telling you, I can't speak for them. Make sure you take that back. I can't. I can give you my opinion. You got to decide. Even the Tigger guys got to decide back there. I'm picking at you, but make sure you understand it. So don't go out here and say, Chris said ASHRAE says or means this. You can go out here and say, Edmondson thinks it means this, or his interpretation is this. That's okay. That's fine. But it's not official. Okay, Eddie? Good. Make sure you understand this. It's important you get that across. Because a lot of discussion about pump impeller sizes, how do you pick a pump? And we could spend days on this subject. The key thing is, what does ASHRAE mean about balance? The key thing is doing the right thing. The key thing is reducing the energy usage of the building to the very minimum and still have everybody happy. That is your goal in a simple way of putting it. And that's all we want to do here. So let's have a little fun. You got a pump here at 650 GPM, 76 feet ahead, and Rodney picked the heads. So you should know right up front there's something wrong with it. So Rodney, we're going to blame Rodney for all of this. You kids need to learn how to blame him. Get out of all this mess you get into. 76 feet ahead. Everybody got it? Let's take a look. 650, 76 feet ahead. You got a pump, and you buy the pump. Oh, man, it's 84% efficient. That is a perfect pump. You specify that, man. You put it on your drawings. It is perfect. We're going to do a great job. Everybody got it? But it's the estimated pump head. It's not the actual pump head on the job. It's the estimated pump head based on the worst piping mistakes you could make. It's the estimated pump head with a safety factor. Engineers should put a safety factor. I'm not arguing it. My point I'm trying to make to you, especially with sensorless pump technology, is this is an estimated pump head. It has to be recommissioned and balanced by you. Has to be. All this other BS stuff you're hearing. Because it has to be done on the drawing board when the engineers are designing stuff. They have to estimate what the worst situation may be, plus some safety. They got no choice. So your job is to do what? Bring that number down as low as you can. Bring the energy usage down as low as you can and commission that job. That's how you earn your keep. Billy, you do it right, you should charge double what you're charging because you're paying them back. It's an investment in the future of the building for long term. Trust me, it will pay back properly done. But this is what you kind of got to get in your head. So let's have a simple example to make the point, then show you some troubles that can come with some of this stuff. So I've got Hinton with a 650 at 76 feet ahead, got a nice little red star. I got a 9.5-inch impeller. Beautiful world. What's the contractor want to do? Turn it on. He turned it on, and everybody said it was noisy. In case you know what noise means in a piece of pipe, it's high velocity noise goes something like this. It's a beautiful sound. So you kind of keep that in mind. But they were noisy. So what did you guys do as a balance and commissioning guy? You came along and said, okay, I want to know the differential pressure across that pump with one gauge. Okay, so I'm taking it with one gauge, suction discharge side, and I came up with 63 feet ahead. Everybody see what I did? You do it every day. It's going to go quick. So now what do I do? Well, the specification was where? 650 at 76 feet ahead, but it's only putting out 63 feet ahead. I still got the same impeller. I'm running constant speed 1750 for the time being. So I come up to 63 feet ahead. I go straight across. I'm running at the red star. My pump's running at the red star. I'm pumping 850 and your design was 650, and that's why I'm noisy. What's wrong with that? Would it work? Probably. It'll work. Just go home. Oh, you're telling me we could improve upon that? All right, what's the common solution by the contractor? Oh, I love you, baby. Throttle that pump. All right, let's throttle that pump. We got a triple duty valve on it. Let's throttle the pump. All right, so everybody see the red star. So the contractor comes along and says, oh, well, okay, it's noisy. We'll just throttle the pump. Throttle the pump means I added pump head to it. I'm changing the head from that 63. I'm going to get it back to design that Hinton said. But when I throttle the valve of the discharge of the pump, it's like driving a car away my wife used to drive before I took a car away from her. I'm going to be in more trouble and get out of here, but I've been with her 53 years. I get away with a lot of stuff. Come on, guys. She was put one foot on the brake, one foot on the gas. And I'm not sure which one she pushed harder. Everybody kind of understand that? That's what you're doing here. Why would you take that critical loop that we talked about earlier and throttle it? Why? And don't promise me you won't get mad at me, okay? I'm trying to wake you up. Are you stupid? I'm trying to get you to understand how stupid this is. I'm not trying to get you mad at me. I'm just trying to get you to remember that ain't right. That's wrong. It is stupid. Or cheap, however you want to look at it. Let's figure it out. So right now, contractor said, let's do that. Now I'm giving Hinton exactly what he wanted, 650 at 76. Are you happy now, Rodney? No, I hope not. He might be, knowing him, because you saved the brake horsepower. You cut it from 17 to 16, and it's 6 cents a kilowatt hour, which is cheap. You're saving money. That's cheap at 6 cents, to give you a number. All right. Now, what does ASHRAE 90.1, the law, the building code law, backing you guys up, tell you to do? What does it tell you to do? This is what I want you to recognize. The days of you coming along and begging somebody to get you on a job are done. If you're not on a job, somebody's breaking the law. That's a pretty good position to be in. That's pretty good security. Can I come work for you? This is not a bad deal. You got a good racket going here. Giving you a hard time, but I'm trying to get you to recognize how important balance has become, and commission. Let's put it all together. So what does ASHRAE say? First of all, you got a proportioning balance. And we're going to cover that one in a few minutes because it's one of my pet peeves. I'll give you an answer. How would you proportioning balance a flow limiter job? Can you? I say you can. Some people say, Chris, you can't. I said, well, I can show you how to get as close as possible. How about that? All right, good. Let's come back to that one. Minimize throttling losses. It sounds to me like don't want the triple duty valve where? Open. But wait a minute, got to come back to that. And adjust to pump speed or cut the impeller accordingly. So you can adjust the pump speed or cut the impeller. Most people are going to do what? They're not going to cut the impeller. Right, okay. And you got some caveats how to get you out of small jobs. Now, what is this? You guys are in the proportioning balance business. Who wrote the Bible to proportionally balance? Was it Nib? Probably. I don't even know. But what is in the ASHRAE guide to define proportioning balance? You ever thought about that? So how do you proportioning balance? What is the legal strictest definition we can find? I'm pulling it from ASHRAE. Here it is. This is ASHRAE Handbook, Chapter 38. I think it's this 2016, I believe. What does ASHRAE tell you about proportioning balance and minimizing throttle losses? What do they tell you and why? I'll show you why in a minute. But listen to me. We got some of the kids in the room telling me balancing valves or discharge of pumps are banned. In my opinion, that's an outright lie. What does ASHRAE proportioning balance tell you you need to do a proportioning balance? Let's make sure you kind of got the message. So let's just work our way through it real quick. Proportioning balance is the Bible. The code says you shall proportioning balance. You better understand it. You're breaking the law yourself. That's what it says. Step one, fully open the balance and control valves in all the circuits. So everything you got in the building, everything's got to be wide open. All the two-way valves, all your balance and balance wide open. You got to start somewhere, right? Step two, adjust the main balancing valve. It didn't say triple duty valve, that's small words in green. But ASHRAE is telling you the main balancing valve. If you want to buy a circuit setter and a check valve, fine. Whatever you want to have. But ASHRAE says you need a main balancing valve for the total pump flow, and you need to adjust the total pump flow to 100, 110%. Why is that there? If every two-way valve and every balancing valve in the direct return system are wide open, what's the pump going to do to begin with? Fall off the pump curve to the right. It hadn't been balanced. How are you going to balance a pump? You can't turn it on. How? You can't. So you got to turn the pump on, and if it's running off the pump curve to the right, you have to have a main balance valve per ASHRAE and throttle it 100, 110% so you can begin the balance. Jeez, what's wrong with you people? It's a direct return system most of the time. That reverse return, they get away from this, but it's not. Hang on. Step three. Start doing the adjustment of balance of valve and put the percentage of flow to each zone. That's what proportioning balance means. We want to percentage out the flow. 1/3 over here, 1/4 over here, whatever the percentage may be to each zone, we want to percent that total flow to that zone. We're not even worried yet about the total flow. We want to get the percent right against all the circuits. We're going to walk away through one in a minute, just as simple as I can make it. Hang on. Pressure drop, so forth. Then excess pressure can be, what are you telling me, Chris? Are you telling me I need that main balancing valve with the pump discharge again? Yep, second time. Third time, the pump discharge valve shall be reopened, provide design flow. So I'm going to walk you through this, make sure you understand. What they're telling you is you need a main balance valve on a system to get it balanced proportionally. You have to have it to start the system up, and then you want to collect all the extra head where? In that valve. And after you got all the extra head in that valve, what's the last thing you do? You trim the pump impeller or slow the pump down and reopen the valve. Hang on. I'm going to walk through it because this is confusing to people, but you're in the proportioning balance business, are you not? All right. So here we go again. I'm right back. Graph the actual system curve. In other words, with all those valves wide open, I'm at the red dot. I didn't fall off the pump curve. The reason ASHRAE said put the main balancing valve on there when all the zones are open, all the two-way valves are open, is they're afraid you may fall off the pump curve. In this case, we did not fall off the pump curve. We're still on the curve. But with the valves all open, we're running that red number. We come back and we plot that system curve. And we know the actual flow is 750 at 49. We just work up through all those numbers. We plug in 850 at 63 feet ahead on your system size or on your phone and pull off these numbers, and we wind up plotting the system curve. Everybody with it? Everything's wide open. Nobody's touched the balancing valve yet. We want to know what the actual head requirement is. We got it. Everybody got that. Now, what is the total flow we need? 650. How much you got? 850. So what could we do here? This is as simple as I can make it to get the point across. What we really need is 650 GPM, right? So where does the 650 cross the real system curve? The one that's installed. Where? Whoa, let's take a look at, whoa, look at that. Look at that, Chris. I only need a 7.6 inch impeller. Wow, look at that. How much money did I say? I got it down to $3,600 a year versus $8,000. I got the horsepower about half by doing a proportioning balance, and you can either trim the pump impeller or slow it down with a variable speed drive. Is that worth doing? I was telling this young kid over here, he's not charging enough money. Look, he just saved the client here $3,000, $4,000 a year for the rest of their lives, Billy. Come on. For as long as they live, you're saving $4,000 every year. You're too cheap. You kind of got the message. That's the message from ASHRAE. We're going to take a little bit step further, but I'm trying to get this fundamental pump curve stuff across to you. Good. Don't get too carried away. Let's do a proportioning balance. How about that? Let's go back to a job. Let's do one like you guys do. I'm sure Hinton taught you this over here. You don't work with Hinton, do you? You work with him too? Good Lord. That looks like him. Doesn't it look like him? Guys, I'm going to rechange this slide. That's Rodney Hinton if I've ever seen him right there. That's Rodney Hinton. Everybody join Hinton. This is going to be my Hinton slide. Hey, humor me, guys. Stay with me. We got a little more time. We got a little more time. We got a little fun. Wake up, wake up. Come on. We can stay with this. Come on. We might learn something. You stay with me. Let's do a simple job. You're the balancing experts, not me. Remember that. But we got another job here. Rodney specified 1,500 GPM, 70 feet ahead. Let's keep it simple. I got a pump. I got 3 zones, 500, 500, 500. So from a proportioning balance standpoint, each zone wants what? 33%. I'm just trying to keep the numbers easy so we don't get lost in the numbers. Fair enough? And I've got a pressure drop through that two-way valve of 10, coil 10, 15 here, 10, 10, and 10. Everybody got all the pressure drops. All the segment pressure drops are 4 feet. Trying to keep them simple. Now let's go back to the good Lord's square law. If I take my flow rate through that piece of pipe that's 4 feet and I cut it to 50%, what happens to the 4 feet? It becomes 1. Everybody understand the square law? Good old square law is I take a fixed CV, where's Jim? He was trying to make sure I said it that way. Fixed, and I cut the flow in half, the pressure drop becomes 1/4, 25%. I got a fixed CV and I double the flow rate, pressure goes up 400%. Square. Everybody get it. You got to have this in your head. You got to sleep this. You got to eat this. You got to understand this. Everything you touch, you got to have it. Good. So how much head do I really need? Hinton specified 70 feet. Where is my critical circuit? Where is it? Whoa, let's see. 4. I bet it's number 3. What do y'all think? How much head do I need? Somebody help me with the math. Help me with the math. 4, 8, 12, 22, 32, 36, 40, 44, 54 feet. Everybody buy that? Now if I put 54 feet across that circuit, do I get 500 GPM? 4. Oh yeah, I don't need that much head to get across that one. So my worst circuit, my critical circuit for calculating pump head is zone 3 and 54 feet ahead. But Hinton is a safety valve nut here, so he decided to have a pump at 70 feet ahead. Everybody got it? Now you guys are showing up on the job site. What do you think the contractor's done balance-wise? What has he done? Turn the pump on, right? Maybe. Let's assume he's turned the pump on. In this case, he hasn't balanced anything, and he don't even have a balance valve right now. Doesn't have a circuit, got nothing. Let's turn the pump on. What happens? Well, in this case, I wind up at 1,800 GPM at 64 feet of head. So my green is where I'm supposed to be, but I got one of these stupid pumps, and it's at the blue. So I'm flowing instead of 1,500, 1,800 GPM at 64 feet ahead. All I do is turn it on, no balance, no balance. What are the flow rates? Zone 1, 670. Zone 2, 652. Zone 3, 478. I would argue it would work. About zone number 3, I'm within 10%. I'm within 10% of the flow. What's wrong with that? It works. Let's go home. Rodney sits in the truck, signs off on gone. I love you too. Everybody kind of got the message. Will it work? Yes. Have you met the law? No! Sorry about that. It's early in the morning. But you were getting sleepy back there. I was worried about you. Please forgive me. I know somebody says I yell too loud at times, but I really don't want anybody to go to sleep, okay? And I want you to learn something. We got a valuable time here. Let's just make sure something comes out of this that you didn't have when you left. When you leave, you can go back with something new. So, pumps on. What are we going to do next? Typical contractor would probably do what? Take that triple duty valve and let's throttle it. Okay? This case, I'm still on the pump curve. In other words, ASHRAE would tell you to have a main balancing valve in case you fell off. This case was still on the pump curve because I picked the pump. Don't get too technical. I picked the pump around beep a little to the left of beep. If I pick my pump to the right of beep, which is nothing wrong with it, don't misunderstand what Chris is telling you. If I pick it to the right of beep, I'd better be tight on my pump head. If I got too much pump head and I pick to the right of the beep, when you turn the pump on, it's going to fall off the pump curve. I'm going to come to that one in a few minutes. I say, big issue going on right now with balancing and commissioning. I'm going to show you a slide in a minute and I want you to understand. But I want you to understand this is a case. I pick my pump to the left of beep. I have a little security in it. I did pop out to here, but I didn't fall off. ASHRAE is covering you by saying the proportioning balance. Put a main balancing valve in case you do fall off and you get back up on the curve. Everybody understand that? Good. So let's go next. So what's the contractor going to do now? Well, look at that horsepower. Look at that horsepower. Think about horsepower is my 6 grandsons' Duke Power College Fund. They've done really well. I got all Duke Power stock in it, and they've just been making a ton out of this. Because horsepower costs cash. And you want to reduce it as much as you can. That's what you're there for. Okay, good. So let's go back. I'm at 18 at 64, and I do what? You're going to find out in a few minutes that a 36 brake horsepower, if I proportioning balance, I can cut it down to 25. Pretty good cut. Pretty big cut in our operating cost. All right, so what happens next? The contractor comes along and he balances. He said, Hinton, you had on your specifications, you wanted 1,500 GPM at 70 feet ahead. I just set that triple duty valve at 1,570 feet ahead, and I've got it done, right, Eddie? You going to accept this? What's the flow rate in zone 3 now? It ain't 500, is it? 399? I might be in trouble. Beyond my 10%, more like 20% off now. You see what I'm telling you? We're not going to hit ASHRAE's statement of what a balanced system is required. So stay with me. So now we're saying, okay, that ain't going to work either. You can't, you got to get out of the truck now. You got to go inside and do something. So next thing is we're going to talk about balance. And no worry about it. We're just having a little fun here and start talking about, do you need a balance? I think the answer is very simple. Let me get something up here that's worth putting up here. It's the law. I bring Alice on here because my dear beloved bride for 53 years, I'm stuck with her. She's still stuck with me. And we have our issues, but we're still fighting it out, trust me. But here we go. I live at a condo at Wrightsville Beach. I got up the other night before the storm hit, freezing to death. I think it was 95 degrees outside that day, and I got up and the thermostat was at 67 degrees. I had to keep it. I thought I was sick. And come to find out, she had gotten hot during the middle of the night. Now, I'm going to tell you a story. Anybody in the room will believe me. It ain't in the books. It's not in the ASHRAE books. You're going to know I'm telling you the gospel truth. She got in the middle of the night. It was 72 or 73 set point, and it decided to be colder. But you don't take it down 1 degree. You take it to the bottom. This case was 65. Why? Because it cools quicker that way. Everybody listen to what I just said. You don't believe me? Go ask Alice. I'll pay you $100 if you can convince her differently. I'll pay you. I'll take you home with me right now. You can explain it to her. I've been trying for 50 years and she don't buy it. Bingo, Jim. Do y'all not understand? Okay. So you got all this diversity building these systems and all these two-way valves. And suppose University of Chapel Hill had an Alice in every room there, and you did night setback. Next morning you come in, you don't have recovery, right? So the rooms are out of control. You got to bring them back. Control-wise, they stage it. They do a good job with it. Don't misunderstand me. I will get down to the basics here. Control-wise, they just limit the flow and push it on out. No big deal. But my point of it is, if Alice was in every building, UNC Chapel Hill, the first thing they would do in the morning, they came to work, was take the thermostat and set it 65 degrees. Guaranteed. Because it cools quicker. You don't believe me? Ask Jim. So what have you done to your balance if you didn't have a balance valve? What have you done to the system if you didn't balance? You're dead. You killed it. There's no way. Everybody understand the concept here? Avery and Taylor talk about all the time taking a two-way valve, and they're technically, theoretically correct. I do a lot of seminars. I have. One of them's deceased. The other guy's still around. I've done a lot of Asher seminars, both of them. And I always tell them to go first because they're technically correct. I'm not. But I'm going to tell you that when I get them, I say, okay, he's technically correct. I can't argue. I'm going to tell you the real world. And they love it too. But the message I'm trying to get across to you is they will tell you, instead of taking a manual circuit setter to pre-calculate the pressure, hey, how you like this one as an engineer? Pre-calculate the pressure drop to every circuit in your building. Instead of putting a circuit setter in there, calculate what the pressure drop would have to be through the circuit setter and put it into the CV of the two-way valve. How you like that one? How much money you got? How much time you got? I mean, that's the problem. I'm not saying you can't do it, but even the Tigger guy would struggle with this. You can do it. How much time you got? It means you got to analyze circuit analysis on every circuit. Can you buy software? Sure you can. Did it go in that way? Now we're back to square one again, right? So I was trying to tell you. So my message is you got to balance, because the Alices of the world, you got this diversity thing you got to balance for, and you got night setback. Enough said, but I think that kind of drives the point. Right back to my proportioning balance bit. Proportioning balance, minimizing throttle loss, and change your speed. So make sure you know the law is on your side. Let's go back and talk about it. I thought this was interesting. My daughter-in-law, and I don't try to tell everybody, is a professor at Chapel Hill. I try to hide that fact, being a good wolfpacker. And, but she got this note on her desk, on her door. And this is what it said. You know, this is a couple years ago, but I thought it was kind of interesting. That on the weekends, they're going to set it back and let it float. They're going to let the buildings float. I just thought that's interesting. So now you got the recovery every morning and recovery on the weekends, and it's a very much diverse system. Just to understand how critical balance is, and you need to think about some of these things that are going on when you balance, okay? That's all I'm trying to get across. They're trying to get you in the real world. So let's go back to our system. I'm now at 1,500 GPM, 70 feet ahead, and how do I get to this point? I just took my circuit setters. I came along. I got to say you guys something. I installed a circuit setter. Put 3 setters in there, man. I started reading the flow, playing around with these things. I had Rodney do my balance, and man, he's got it perfect. 500, 500, 500, 1,500 at 70 feet ahead. Rodney, you're a genius. How'd you pull that off? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? Oh, look at this. Okay, let's ask you technical geniuses in the room a simple question. Y'all gonna have to shut me up when the time comes, because I can go all day long. Don't worry about it. What I'm trying to ask you is very simple. Very simple. Does that meet the law? No. Are you breaking the law?
Yes.
Yeah. Why? Where is the critical pump circuit? All the way to the end. And remember, you promised you wouldn't get mad at me. Ginger, they promised, but they wouldn't get mad at me. Are you stupid? Why would you balance the last circuit? Why would you have 16 feet ahead? Why would you have Alice with a foot on the brake and accelerator at the same time? Why? Why do we need it 16 feet ahead there? We don't need that 16 feet ahead. And if a balance report came to me like this, I'd fire them on the spot because they're stupid. I'm going to get fired on that one. Are you mad at me? Please, I'm trying to wake you up. I'm too loud. Forgive me, Michael. I'm not trying to get you. I just want to wake you up how important this is. In other words, professional balance commissioning services that understand this are worth their weight in gold versus somebody out there doing this stupid stuff. Okay, let's just see where we wind up at. So let's do a real reading set proportioning balance. I'm sure you got better ways of doing it the way I'm talking about, but let's just talk about it. Got to have some way to read the flow, no big deal. So right now I'm at 1,864 feet, 36 brake horsepower, and I balance nothing. Okay, all two-way valves are wide open. I don't even have a circuit setter yet. I'm going to put circuit setters on there. All right. Now, what is my goal? Where's my critical circuit? So I want that circuit setter to be where? Zero, wide open. Be a little drop wide open. Let's don't argue about that right now, but I want it wide open. Let's just assume zero is wide open just to have a number to play with. All right, we turn the pump on. Look what we got. So what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to throttle 1 and 2 to lower the flow rate. What are we after? 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I'm not even worried about the GPM right now. I'm worried about percentages. Okay? I want each zone to get 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So it's pretty much what we would do. You got different methods. But by the way, I would have a balancing valve on my pump to make sure I'm on the pump curve. It's important you keep hearing this conversation. If I pick a pump near beep or to the left of beep, I'll probably go and be on the pump curve. If I pick it way to the right of beep, nothing wrong with it, I better have a balancing valve in order to balance it, because I'm going to fall off without the balance valve. You can't even run the pump to get it balanced. Okay, got to understand that conversation. Let's do it. So the first thing I would do is to calibrate a balancing valves. I'll look at zone 1, and I would adjust zone 1 to be 1/3 of the total flow. The way I would do it. I'm sure you pros can do it quicker than me, but I would adjust this flow rate to be 1/3 of the total. I would come over to zone 2 and do the same thing. I would adjust it to be 1/3 of the total. I would then probably go back one more time to zone 1 and 2, probably 2 passes, and I got 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I would use this circuit setter on zone 3 to verify it's getting 33%, but I ain't going to throttle it. Okay? And after about 2 passes, I'm going to wind up with 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. My total pump flow is now 1,760. Not 1,500 yet. But what have I done? I have equally put the flow rate to each circuit. It is 1/3 at 587, 1/3 at 587, 1/3 at 587. My total pump flow is 1,760. Everybody got it? Each zone has its percent of total flow. It is already proportioning balanced. Flow rate's too high, but it's been balanced. Everybody with me? And this circuit set is where? Wide open. What do I do now? Where's all the extra head going to be now? My balance valve is wide open. I'm going to take that balance valve and throttle it down to 1,500 GPM, and I got 16 feet of pressure drop in my triple duty valve at the pump discharge. And my critical circuit, which before was at 16 feet, is now 0. I took the 16 feet from my critical circuit and moved it over to the pump discharge in my main balance valve. Isn't that pretty neat? You with me? What can I do now? What can I do? I can cut the pump impeller or put a variable speed drive on it and slow it down to 1,554 feet and 25 brake horsepower. Everybody got it? Now you're proportioning balance. Young man, I'm picking on you because I worry about you. I don't know why. You just worried me. You just saved the owner $4,000. Isn't that pretty neat? It's a good way to make a living. I love what was your president's name again? Joel. I love what Joel was saying. You guys are ethical and moral. You got a good business going. You do the right things. I love that. This is the right thing. You just saved the owner $4,000. Doesn't that feel good? For the rest of the life of his job. What a better way to make a living I cannot think of, even with him. It's not a bad way to go. So everybody kind of got the eye message. We have proportionate balance. And what is the proof that it's proportioning balance? Critical circuit valve is wide open. If it's not, fire them. Get rid of them. They don't know what they're doing. Good. Let's have a little fun with this. Got to have a little fun. What happens if I come along and add zone 4 in the future? Come on. Got to do what? It's called job security. You have to rebalance. Everybody with me? This is why I think the variable speed drive solution is not bad because you might go ahead and design your pump for zones 4 and zones 5 in the future, back it down now, at least when you go to rebalance, you got enough pump to take you out there. So that's not a bad solution. Everybody okay with that? But remember, if I start adding zone 4, what happens to my balance? The critical zone has probably moved, flow rate went up, and I got to rebalance. It's called recommissioning. Everybody okay with that? Just make sure you understand. That's your answer. There's no other answer for you. Good. All right. I'm going to throw this in it because Hinton has been bugging me over this. You asked me this about 2 years ago. I don't have a good answer for you except to get it up here because I think you guys are going to be seeing a lot more of this. Senseless pumps and commissioning. And if you got questions, yell at me. This is not a story for propaganda. This is maybe, last count, 4 or 5 vendors are doing this. They've taken pumps, including the people I work for, put variable speed drives on the pumps and programmed in what we call a curve to be supposedly senseless flow. Now make sure you understand what we're saying. We're going to look at the RPM and the horsepower, tell you the flow rate in GPM, and adjust it to stay on a fixed curve. ASHRAE calls it a quadratic curve control. You like fancy words, quadratic curve control. Curve control, but it's a single line fixed curve programmed in at the factory no matter what vendor you're talking to. So just forget about the name of the vendor, got nothing to do with it right now. Everybody does the same thing. What this means, if Rodney is specifying pump heads of 100 feet and the actual pump head required is 50, you got a problem because the curve is put in where? At 100 feet. In reality, you need 50, so what do you got to have? Recommissioning and a balancing guy to fix it. Now you see where I'm coming from. You got some of these people out here preaching and saying, put my pump in. It's, I hope, is that better or worse? Up. Us. It's probably you. It's probably you. It's amazing how that went away. He's right. You're not bothering me. What I want to get across to you, the propaganda is out there that if you put my pump in, it's senseless technology, you don't need a balance, you don't need a recommission, turn it on, take care of itself, and save all this money. Now, I'm not inclined to do this very often, but I'm going to make sure you got my opinion on that. And we sell them. It's a lie. You couldn't hear that? It's a lie! BS. Amen. Amen, brother. Because they're programmed in at the factory and everybody uses 40% of the design head as a minimum head to start with. It's important you get this. I'm not trying to make you experts. I'm just going to introduce you to the technology. I can name you 4 or 5 vendors. They all use the same stuff. All use the curve control. It's in the ASHRAE guide. I'll show you their opinion in a few minutes, and they all start at 40%. In other words, if Hinton had a 100-foot head pump on the drawings, the factory's going to program the submitted head, back to you, the submittal head, of 40 feet. Now, suppose you only need 50. That's to the extreme. So somebody's got to recommission that to the actual head in the field down to 40% of 50 or 20 or some other number. My point I'm trying to make to you is it has to be recommissioned. I sell Bell & Gossett. B&G has to be recommissioned. Has to be. Will it work without it? Yeah. Will it meet codes? No. Can't. If you're putting safeties. You guys put safeties on your pumps? Sure you do. Come on, all of you do. Come on, guys, let's just face it. You have to. But when you submit the pump curve to the vendor, and the vendor gives you the submittal back, he ships it from the factory at 40% of the submitted head, which is theoretical, and not the actual head in the field that you need to correct. Everybody understand I'm trying to get across to you without going too deep. If you want to ask me questions, I jump all over it, but I don't want to bog you guys down. And these things come inline, base mounted, however you want them, with the drives already mounted or drives on the wall, with this curve control already built into it. Now, here's what I want you to understand. If I know, you guys are going to HiFab. HiFab is, it was a guided tour for the last minute. But HiFab does the same thing without talking about products. We take a pump and we put it on, we got a big test stand over there, and we'll run them with a set impeller and KW. If I know RPM from a drive and I know horsepower or amp draw to my drive, I know the GPM without impeller. You got it? That's all we're doing. And we do it over here every day. And we've got some pump packages you can look at. That's where you're going. You're not going to James and Pleasant. You're going to High Fab, which is a fab shop where we build packages. You're going to see stuff that's where you're headed. Thanks for setting it up and going. It was just a last-minute deal, but we thought it'd be good to shuffle people in and out. I'm going to do this again in a few minutes, and Roddy won't be here, so I'll pick on Henry Long. Don't worry about it. Fair is fair. So back to my flow tolerances. Okay, you're talking about sensorless technology. We decided ASHRAE is probably plus or minus 10%, right? And we also said, hey guys, that's pretty much typical today because of condensing boilers and trying to rechill water. Good. So what have I got here? Now listen to me. You haven't seen some of this stuff. You need to start paying attention. You're commissioning sensorless pumps. I don't care what brand it is. It's all going to look to you like this. I've got a pump that's been selected for 1,200 feet of head. That's the point of full flow, max flow, submitted head on the drawings, and the table on the drawings is got it. Good. You submit that. The factory is going to default that head to about 40%. In this case, about 25 feet, roughly 40%, 26 feet, whatever it is. In other words, the standard, we got to ship it at something. We have to ship it at some fixed head here at zero flow to establish this curve. And my pump's going to run on that curve. I'm going to look at RPM. I'm going to look at amp draw and know where I am in flow-wise. I got a fixed impeller. I got this plugged in. If I know the RPM of the pump and I know the KW, I know my flow rate. That's how they work. Simple idea. They work good. Not saying anything wrong with them. They work fine. But make sure you understand what you're buying. You'll find a fixed curve. It's got to stay on that curve. So variable speed curve control per ASHRAE. Pump operating on the estimated fixed curve control, and you had Rodney Hinton calculate the pump head? You got to recommission. What else do we say ASHRAE says at the bottom? Read in yellow. Curve control is based on design flow and head. Design on the drawings, not the real world, which has a safety factor, which means higher operating costs are necessary if not corrected during commissioning. Bottom line, excuse me, Billy's hard-headed back here. Coming back to see him again. Bottom line, Billy, all sensorless pumps, no matter what the brand, need to be recommissioned to make sure that head that you got is as low as you possibly can, because that's going to be the lowest RPM and the lowest KW and lowest operating cost. Everybody makes sense? It's just the good Lord meant for us to do the right thing. Okay? Your president, Joel, was talking about the right thing. The right thing is to do what? Recommission and get them down. Simple. I don't care what brand, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Good. Enough said. What in the world have I got here? A crazy thought, and I'm going to show you another picture of, I'm going to call this Henry Long because Rodney will get mad at me. And real quick, I don't know how long I'm supposed to go, guys. I can go to 12 o'clock, somebody give me a cutoff. I ain't worried about finishing slides at all. I ain't worried about anything. I will go all day long, whatever you need. Let's just keep at it a couple more minutes, please, please, please. All right, sensorless technology is curve control is the red line. Everybody see that? So don't have any sensors. I'm fixed and stupid. I'm going to ride that red curve. See that form? It looks pretty familiar to you, don't it? Plus, I got the head I required at zero flow of 20 feet. Now, most of your jobs are direct return. And the last time I checked in Greensboro, I'm not sure where you come from, but the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Would you agree with that? Does that happen where you guys come from? So that means, Chris, if I got diversity, that my load's cooler. It's a cooling load. Cooling load in the morning is going to be where? East side of the building. I may not have much of a cooling load on the west side of the building. Where's the cooling load going to be in the afternoon? West side of the building. May not be much of a cooling load on the east side of the building. So what are you telling me, Chris? I'm telling you the loads are changing, the flow rates are changing per two-way valve in your job on a direct return job. Hang on one second. So I've got this control system that's going to be on this red curve and can't be any place else because it's fixed at the factory. This red curve control assumes, no matter what the brand, that every two-way valve in your building is in the same position at the same time. Let me repeat that. Curve control, sensorless technology, assumes every two-way valve in your building is at the same position, same load profile at the same time. You think it's possible? As long as the sun ain't right, as long as the sun is fixed, might get away with it. Everybody understand what I just said? This is what people don't get. So sensitive is great for simple systems. You got a hospital or something complicated, you're kidding yourself. Will it work? I can make it work, but I'm going to waste a lot of energy. Now hang on. It's important you get this. You're going to be faced with this. I wish I had all day on this subject because I get the smart guys really asking me what to do about this. It's coming up to me all the time. How do we deal with this? You got to understand a couple of things first. Here we go. 2,000 GPM. Red line. I'm going to give you 25 feet. Okay? But if I got a direct return system, do you know which two-way valve is open, which two-way valve is closed? If it's sunny east and sunny west, let's take a quick look. The bottom blue curve here would be the two-way valves closest to the pump on a direct return system. The top blue line would be the two-way valves furthest from the pump on a two-way valve system. In other words, east-west. Let's just use this to be east. Let's use that to be west to have something to play with. So at 2,000 GPM, if I'm on the east side of the building, I really only need 22 feet ahead. And I'm giving you 25 feet. We're fine. We're over pumping a little bit, wasting a little energy, but sensorless technology is working great. You with me? Hang on. But if I'm on the west side of the building, because the sun sets in the west around here, at 2,000 GPM I need, 60 feet ahead. But I'm only giving you 25 or 30. I'm short. Everybody understand what just happened? This is called a control area out of the ASHRAE guide. It's called a control. I wish you would teach all the pump benders. They're just not getting this. It's important you understand there's a control area and you don't know what head you need at 2,000 GPM because you don't know which two-way valves are open and which ones are closed. If you did and everybody's on the same load profile, you're on that red line. If not, you don't know. I have a funny feeling the good Lord might have a hard time calculating. You with me so far? So what happens in the real world on a complicated system with sensorless technology? Well, here's a curve. In this case, I changed colors on you. The blue is the fixed curve control from the factory. The red would be the two-way valves closest to the pump. And the top red would be the two-way valves furthest from the pump. So right now, I'm going to be short of flow if I'm on the top red line. And this is an area. You can be anywhere in that area you want to be, per ASHRAE. Everybody kind of got the idea. And hang on. It's important at least you begin to grasp this a little bit. The factory's going to ship it fixed on that blue line, and it can't change. There's no sensor. There's no feedback. It cannot be changed. It's good for simple systems. It's good for retrofit. It's a great way to go. But if you got a complicated system, no, you need to have a sensor. Hang on. So you got the area control here, and you got hitting on the job. What's he going to do? Well, here's a picture for you guys. Isn't that any pretty? Let's call that. You going to call that Henry? Or is that you? That's him. That's Henry Long. Introducing you to Henry Long, the new commissioning expert. He came along with sensorless technology. Head is fixed at, say, 25 feet, and he sees this. He says, somebody starts complaining because they're over 10%. Remember the balance thing? About 10%, you get in trouble on a cool day. So what do? Control head creep. That's Mr. Creep Henry Long. So how does Mr. Creep, the control head commissioning agent, work? What does he do to fix the problem? Very simple. He comes along, he says, I know what we'll do. We'll raise the default 0, 25 feet ahead, we'll raise it up until the blue line gets above the red line. Boom, boom. Oh, I'm now up to 35 feet. I've got it above the red line. Nobody's short of flow. What have you done to the total head requirement and the total usage of KW? Bingo. Got it? So it needs to be recommissioned. And you put sensorless on basic, simple systems or great, fantastic technology. Please buy them from us. But not on complicated ones because you're going to be wasting a pile of energy. because you got Henry Long, Mr. Creep around taking care of things. So everybody kind of got the basic terminology here, trying to help you a little bit understanding what's going on. Now, we don't have all day on this, but did that help any at all, Hinton? Have you been through any of this before?
I have, when you keep saying commissioning, I see commissioning as a word like transportation.
Okay.
Okay? So to commission that pump, nobody in here can do that. We have to have your people with that little magic box.
Okay, that's the point. Another point keeps coming up. I don't want to go in the magic box. Okay, so let's add to, thank you for answering that question. What he said, he recognizes the issue, but you guys cannot necessarily go in a box and reset it. Who's going to do it? You're going to probably need a factory technician from the pump vendor to go to the job site with you guys after you balanced it and adjust it accordingly. You okay with that, Rodney? I fully agree. You engineers in the room be listening to this conversation because it's a tough one. And how you handle it, I don't know. But what's the right thing to do? Minimum energy required to give you an ASHRAE balance of plus or minus 10%. Right? Fair? If you did that goal, you're doing pretty good. If you do that, you're fine. And we may be okay. We may be plus or minus 10% here. I can't tell you. Every job's different. But that's what you got to look at. Enough said. I'll leave you alone. Handbook says this, very simple. And I think this is important. So if somebody comes up to you and says, I got senseless, I don't need a balancing guy, what does ASHRAE say? Not what Edmondson said. Can you read the handbook? I'm picking at you. There's your page. Can you go find it? What does the handbook say? Variable quadratic pressure control, and for you guys in the room don't like this quadratic pressure, that's senseless. For senseless technology, and that's what it's called theoretically. Also recommended for pressure losses and distribution of supply systems are well known, and is ensured that the system is correctly what? Balanced. Senseless fixed curve control. I hope the message I'm trying to give you, how much? 2 more hours? I'm picking at you. Come on, Ginger. You're not bothering me. Come on up here. We'll do it together. I don't care. So everybody kind of got that message. It keeps popping up. We can help you find, but I think Rodney is correct. Engineers probably need to start specifying that the factory vendor provides a startup technician working when you guys call him in to get it all done, okay? But hey, take that to the engineers. Engineers not going to argue with ASHRAE. Come on, go for it. Enough said. Automatic balance valves. Man, we've had fun with that one before. Let's come back. Can you do a proportioning? I got about 15 minutes left, I'm told. Can you do a proportioning balance with a flow limiter? Let's take a look. Isn't that pretty? I don't care what brand. Must be 15 different brands of them out there. And what a flow limiter does, you say they're not. Okay, I don't care, but how many you say out there? I'm just picking at you. You flow limiters. You like flow limiters? You don't trash, junk? Okay, fine. I'm having no problem with it. Put a strainer on everyone in front. We tell you, you can pull the strainers out. But the technology's out there, so we got to do it, all right? It's funny, by the way. Some people love flow limiters, automatic flow limiters. Some people love manual balance, and it's like, you know, chickens and cats, or dogs and cats. It's unreal.
Yeah, if their spring ratings and stuff are guesstimated, guaranteed, they're never, hardly ever on them.
I'm not going to disagree with you. And there's the difference in the quality and the actual efficiencies of various brands are all over the map. I wish there was some way, as a vendor, we could restrict that. So I'm telling you, some vendors out there, they're lucky to be plus or minus 15 or 20. Okay? I'm agreeing with you. I'm not allowed, this is not a place to talk product, but I'm just telling you there are products out there that automatic flow limiters that really just don't work. Okay? There are other ones out there, as long as you ain't got trash in them, work pretty good. So I'll let you figure out which ones you like and which ones you don't. I don't want to go any further. I'll be happy to tell you a break, then go from there, but enough said. But let's just take up flow limiters. They all kind of get this idea. Flow limiter's got an orifice and a spring. So as I change the differential pressure across the spring, I move it back and forth. And as I move it back and forth, I got a calibrated orifice that changes sizes. So I can guarantee you, the brands that we sell, a plus or minus 5% accuracy of the GPM. I got a minimum pressure to make it work and a max pressure. But pressure independent control valves have some of the same technology on them, so you got to begin to deal with that one as well. I call pressure independent control valves adjustable flow limiters. That's my name for them, and you'll see why when we get there. So here we go. So here we got a situation. They all work the same way theory, no matter what brand. I've got a minimum of 2 pounds pressure drop to get the spring moving. Until the spring moves, I got nothing. Until that spring starts moving, I have nothing. It's just a stupid spring sitting there doing nothing. It takes 2 pounds or 5 pounds or whatever the minimum pressure rating is on that vendor's flow limiter, going to vary by the flow limiter, to get them in the spring range. Everybody understand that? So you got to know that number when you go to the job site. You got to know what that minimum pressure is required on that specific brand to make them work. Otherwise, you don't have a chance at the good Lord's green earth of balancing the job. Everybody understand that? You got to know. All right, right now I'm below that operating spring range. Once I get above 2 pounds or 5 pounds, whatever it is, I've got a flat line here on GPM. In other words, I can have any differential pressure across my flow limiter between 2 pounds and 32 pounds, and I'm going to give you the same GPM plus or minus 5%. At least that should be your spec. Let's hope you get it. All right? Everybody with me so far? So the idea in this situation, I got to make sure I got 2 pounds of pressure minimum across that flow limiter to make it work. Good. Let's go a step further. Now, if I get above the 32 pounds differential pressure, what happens to my spring? It can't go any further, and I'm doing nothing. Okay? I'm doing nothing. Now I have no flow limiter. Everybody got it? Good. So let's take a little look. Let's go back to our previous balancing example. We had circuit setters before. Now I'm going to put flow limiters in here. Everybody see that? Now what's different? I got a minimum differential pressure to make that flow limiter work. Otherwise it won't work. So let's put flow limiters in. I got 1,500 GPM, 70 feet ahead. Rodney picked the pump again. Let's assume these things need 2 pounds or 5 feet. 2 pounds is actually 4.6 feet. Let's just make it 5. Let's say if I don't have 5 feet of drop across these animals, they will not work. If I've got over 5 feet of drop, I'm going to have 500 GPM because I purchased them for 500 GPM. Not $4.99, not $4.50. I bought them for 500 GPM. And you know the contractor installed the right ones on the right coil. Always. Don't even take me there. All right. So here we go. What's the first thing the contractor's going to do? Turn it on. Hey, we turned it on. Hey, man, I got 500, 500, 500. Everything is just perfect. 130, 130. I'm 1,500, 70 feet ahead. It's self-balancing. I don't need you guys. Billy, I don't need you. I balance. Why would I bother? Why would I pay you to come out and play with it? I got these self-balancing. You got so many people preaching this story, which is a lie. Why is it a lie? Why is it a lie? It's costing you money. What's the pressure drop on the critical circuit? What's the pressure drop on the critical circuit? What is it? 16 feet. Didn't you tell me, Chris, a few minutes ago that the minimum pressure drop for 500 GPM was 5 feet? What? Are you telling me I've got the critical circuit at a pressure drop of 16 feet? Are you telling me, Chris, if I change the 16 to 10, it's still 500 GPM? Yes! I change it to 8 feet, it's still 500 GPM? Yes! I change it to 5 feet, and it's still 500 GPM? Yes! I change it to 4 feet, it's still 500 GPM? No. Got it? So what have I got to do? I got to come over here and adjust that pump speed down to cut that impeller until we reduce this to 5 feet. Now I got 1,559. Before I was 70. Yes, I've got 5 feet more pressure drop through this than I did with a circuit setter, I'll admit. I'll admit I have 5 feet more drop than I did with a circuit setter. There's a minimum pressure drop to make a flow limiter work, no matter what the brand. Everybody with me? Now, where are those little things I passed out? You got one over here? Hold it up. What's on the bottom of that thing? What's on the bottom of them? The 2 little probes. What can I get there? Differential pressure. Everybody with me? So what have I got to do? I got to go look at the minimum differential pressure on that critical circuit and make sure it's 5 feet or higher. And I don't want 16. So I'm arguing with you, if you had a differential pressure, which you should have on them, every flow limit ought to have them on there, differential pressure sensor, I can come here, I can lower the pump speed on my critical circuit until I'm down to 5 feet. I got 500 GPM in each circuit, and I verify it, and I write my balancing report up, and I would put the differential pressure across each circuit and that circuit. And when I went to the engineer, if the engineer or the owner didn't ask me, show me the critical circuit and the pressure drop on it, I'd fire you. Everybody understand me? Am I making you mad with that? You're going to do the right thing, aren't you? Yes, sir, Hidden.
You made the statement that the 5 feet is 5 feet greater than you would have with a circuit setter.
Reality may be 3.
Okay.
Circuit setter wide open does have some drop,
Well, you have
to be fair.
You have to have a minimum drop to have an accurate flow across the circuit.
Correct.
And what is that minimum drop?
Well, that minimum drop on the circuit setter is going to depend on a lot of things. I would really have a meter reading. I want 4 or 5 feet. Yeah. So you're arguing that it's the same. Okay. His argument's the same. I'm not going to disagree with you. You could argue that it's what Rodney is saying is when I pick the circuit setter and it's wide open, there's going to be some pressure drop across it automatically in order to get a reading, and I can't argue with him. I can't argue with him. That's your argument. That's why you love manual. Hey, guys, I love them all. We got them all. I don't care what you buy. We got them all. I don't care. We just want you to do the right thing. But I do, great comment, and I can't argue with either one of these gentlemen. You're correct. Okay? Yes, absolutely.
Water devices operate best when you're not working on their minimum or maximum points of operation, 2 or 32. Would you feel comfortable setting that thing for a 2 psi pressure drop and call it absolutely good? Or we typically would leave it at something like 4 psi to kind of have a safety factor there.
Okay, I'm going to translate. I have no problem. Make sure I love the comments. You know, I got all day long, no big deal. What you're saying is instead of 5 feet or 2 pounds, you probably want to leave it on 4. I think what he's telling me is, and I can't disagree with you, if you had, and you don't know sometimes, if you had a zone back in here that because of loading and diversity might need extra flow normally, then I'm going to go to a slide in just a minute, and I think I can prove you right. There might be a situation that you want to set it a little bit higher to make sure these zones get flow. In fact, if you hold that for just a second, I think I can prove you 100% correct.
I'm not really concerned about, I'm not really referencing the other zones at all. Do you feel comfortable with the accuracy of the device to maintain 500 DPM at 2 psi with no safety factor at all?
I feel comfortable with the devices we sell, and we sell 2 different ones. In fact, if they're not, I'll take them to the lawsuits of the factories with you. Yes. Now, there are people out there that cannot do that. They claim they can, but they can't. I don't want to get into product, but there are people out there claiming stuff they just cannot do. And the whole industry has been blamed for it. There are devices out there, I named you 4 or 5 devices that'll give you plus or minus 5. And your design goal was plus or minus 10 to begin with. Okay, so the 5% I am very comfortable with. Now, to prove your point, now, I still think you got a great point. Let's go to variable speed pumping and balance. And let's go and look at what happens with a differential pressure transducer and where you put it. All right? This is your point. This is another aspect to what you just said. It's a great comment for a whole other set of reasons, okay? So hang on a second. So right now I've got my manual balance. I want you to get across to your 54 feet ahead. This is with the manual circuit setters. And in theory, that last setter is wide open. You tell me when to shut up, don't worry about it, Diane. Not me. Ginger doesn't bother me when. Anywhere, just wrap it up now. 2 minutes. 10:30 by my watch, which is 2.5 minutes. Big guy. Come on, Ginger. I'm having fun. We can do this all day long. Just to have a night session. Add one back tonight. So here we go. We got this direct return. I'm serious. You want to do it's fine with me. What I want to get across to you, what is your set point out here? What pressure zone needs? So to wrap this up real quick, I'm going to jump ahead on the slide, and I'm going to change these things over to flow limiters. To go back to what you just said. I'm at 5 feet. I got a differential pressure transducer controlling the speed of my pump. Now, if I'm set on that 5 feet, what happens? What happens if zone 3 has 0 load? So I'm set on 20 feet, 30 feet across here, 5 feet for this, 10 and 10. If I'm on 30, I'm okay. If I was on 25, what would happen? In other words, what is my set point across my critical zone for my differential pressure transducer? I wish tell Ginger next time to give me all day, okay? But if we had all day, this is what we would do. I got 25 on here, I got it set for 30, I'm okay. What would happen at 25 feet and this was 5? Okay? If this became 0, where's my 25 feet going to be? And I need 15 and 10 is 25 plus 5, not 8, 5 is 30. So I've got it set on 30 to make sure I get what I need here, which would make sure at full flow, what's this going to be reading? 10, what you just said. It's going to be reading exactly what you just said. Here's a case for what you just said. Instead of making it 5 feet or 2 pounds, I'll make it 10 feet or 4 pounds. Why? And I've set it up exactly what you just did. I did what you just said. Why? Because I need 30 pounds here, 30 differential to make it work. And what happens is zone 3 is on the east side of the building, and there's no load on the west on the east side of the building in the afternoon. So that becomes 0. There's no flow here. So now my 30 feet is across zone 2. And if it was 25 feet, with the 5 I'd be short. So I overset this for the 4 pounds of the 10 feet to make sure zone 2 got it when the sun went over to the west side of the building. So you're a genius. You're totally correct. You like that argument? I got to hush. I've been told to get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you like quick slides. Boom, 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 boom. I want to make sure you get to the end of the world. And it's great. And it's great. There it is. So thank you. Have a good time.